That when you fast, it also improves cognitive function. By cognitive function, it means your ability to think clearly, improve your memory. So all these have been found out to be the effects of fasting. And fasting has been found to slow down degeneration of your brain cells. So as you grow older, naturally, you will lose some brain cells, and it's part of aging. But when you fast, that risk of degeneration is lower, meaning that your brain remains sharper for a longer term than someone who doesn't fast. And also, it's also boosts recovery of the cells that can be cells that are damaged. And it's been found out that for some people with epilepsy, even when they fast, it decreases the risk, their chances of having more of epileptic seizures. So another benefit is to your gastrointestinal tract. That is your gut. So when you eat, where the food passes before you bring it out in your stools, that is your gastrointestinal tract. And it's been found out that fasting enhances the regeneration of those cells also. So it's been noticed that with people who fast, there is something we call stem cells, and these are cells that they can break down to form any other cells of the body. So if you look at a human body, the cells that are found in the eyes may differ from the ones that are found in the hands or in the hair or in the nails, or in the ovaries or any other parts of the body. And so these stem cells are cells that they are not specialized, so then anywhere you put them, they will grow into those particular cells. And it's found that when you fast, the amount of stem cells you have increases. So should you have any damage, like they serve as a kind of a reserve, so that if there's any damage, then they multiply and then fill up where the deficit is. And with fasting, the number has been found to increase and the activity also increased. So if it happens that maybe you have loss of cells in your intestines due to an illness, when you fast, it's been noticed that those stem cells tend to multiply and replace what you have lost. The same way, if you fast also, if you have breakdown of the cells in your brain, it helps to regenerate them and then keeps your cognitive function adequate. One other important factor is the decrease in the risk of cancer. So it's been found that when fasting, or when people fast, it blocks the formation of cancer cells or tumor cells. And even if you have a tumor already, it slows down the growth of that tumor. And when people are on chemotherapy, for some, even there have been research that has shown that if you fast a few days before the chemotherapy is done, it makes the body more sensitive to the chemotherapy that has been done. And also it prevents the drugs from acting on the healthy cells. Because with chemotherapy, it doesn't just kill the cancer cells, it kills even normal cells to some extent. So when you fast, the risk of destruction of normal cells under chemotherapy is decreased, so that it's more targeting on the cells that actually are cancerous. So fasting also has been found to protect cells from DNA damage that could eventually lead to tumor formation. Yeah, so the next thing is, as mentioned earlier, once you fast, these cells, some cells called stem cells, tend to regenerate and then multiply. So as I explained earlier, stem cells, they are a group of cells in the body. They could be found anywhere, but for lots of times they are found maybe in babies, and they are such that they are not specialized. So then if you put them anywhere, they could multiply to replace the cells that are lost there. So if you put them, assuming you have lost some muscle and then you have stem cells, they will help to regenerate the muscle that you've lost, or your nerve cells, intestine, eye, skin. And fasting helps to promote the multiplication of these stem cells and regeneration, so that it helps the body to replenish itself. It also helps the body to get rid of old worn-out cells. So naturally, in the human body, when you have old cells they've been there for a long time, they are worn out, it's supposed to break down itself by processes that are like natural. But for some people, sometimes the old cells could still remain, and then they are not really of much function and they are just there. So with function, it helps the body to get rid of those old cells that are worn out, so that new ones can come up and replace the old ones, and then keeps your body functioning well. Yeah. So then also, there are other hormonal changes that occur with fasting. So there's this hormone called leptin, and leptin is a hormone that increases appetite in the body. So realize that people who are markedly obese, for them, the more they eat, the more they get hungry, the more they eat. And it's been found that they tend to have very high leptin levels. So with the leptin level being high, they eat but they don't get satisfied, so they keep eating and eating. But once you fast, it brings down that level so that you don't even get, you don't get hungry for it to be eating too much. So you can observe that sometimes even after the month of Ramadan ends, you don't have as much appetite as before. It takes a while before the appetite comes back to normal. Then also, there are other hormonal conditions like polycystic ovaries that occurs in some women and makes them infertile to some extent. When you fast, it helps to decrease the effects of the polycystic ovary disease and then improves fertility in the long run. So then other factors to consider while fasting. So generally, for people with type 1 diabetes or people who are insulin dependent, that's people, that diabetics, there are some that are on just medication, like oral medication, and there are some that require injection before they can be managed. So for those who are dependent on insulin, it's not advised for them to undergo fasting because their risk of becoming hypoglycemic is high. So you don't want them to have that and go into a coma. So then for people with insulin dependent diabetes, it's not advisable for them to fast. And if you are someone who has peptic ulcer disease, it's better you treat it before we enter into the month of fasting. And ulcer can be treated. It's not supposed to be a lifelong condition that you have it for life. If you have ulcer and you know it, you treat it, go to the hospital, be attended to by the doctor and treated before Ramadan comes. And after Ramadan ends, if probably during the month of Ramadan you are dealing with peptic ulcer, after Ramadan ends, treat it and then pay back your debt. And it's possible. You can't say because of ulcer you never fast in your life. Ulcer can be treated. Then the other factor is kidney stone. For some people who have kidney stones, because in Muslim fasting you don't take any water, so you can get dehydrated. So if you have this problem, treat it before Ramadan. But if it happens that the problem is persistent even during Ramadan, then probably you should hold on with the fasting and treat it before you go ahead with the fasting. And with pregnancy, I know our Islamic scholars advise that if you can fast. If you can't also, you are excused from the fasting. Well, from research, for some people, it doesn't really cause any effects on the pregnancy. But if you are someone whose pregnancy seems to be problematic, it will be advisable to probably hold on with the fasting and give birth and then later pay back your debt. And another thing is, you should try to stay well hydrated. With our fasting, we don't take any water. So then when you, in between your iftar and suhoor, you should take at least 6 sachets of water. And in an environment that is so hot, if you can even add about 7 sachets, is all the better because your body needs all that water to cleanse all the toxins from your system. So make sure that at the period that you are allowed to eat, you should take as much water as you can. And then also take in healthy foods when you break your fast. So if you want to gain all the benefits of fasting, you shouldn't be focused. You should make sure when you break your fast, it shouldn't be a feast. Just eat a simple diet. Take some fruits, some vegetables, a healthy diet. Not all these fried foods, fried chicken, fried everything. You should limit your intake of all the fried items and focus more on the fruits and vegetables. Even if you eat carbohydrate items, make sure it's limited. So you shouldn't say because you fasted the whole day, all the food you couldn't eat, you want to make sure you eat it during iftar. No. Otherwise, it defeats the purpose when it comes to health. So when you break your fast, avoid the intake of fatty diets, sugary drinks, because one of the benefits of fasting is that it brings down your blood sugar level. So you don't want to go and increase it after making all the effort to bring it down. Then, make sure you take your suhoor and iftar so that you stay healthy during the fasting. So that is it for the health benefits of fasting.
HAFIZ TV, unique every day.